Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and today I'm going to be talking about Ogre from Tekken. Now in order to talk about Ogre, we need to go very far back in time, to roughly about the 14th century, during the birth of the Aztec culture. Ogre landed in South America in the 14th century. So yes, in the official canon, Ogre is in fact what you would deem an extraterrestrial. In the main continuity of Tekken, it's unaware whether or not he is an official alien or a living weapon designed by them. It's never been specified, as the character has only appeared in one canon game, so this really is subject to change, or when it benefits a story at a later time. Now when he landed in Mexico, the Aztecs saw this deity as a god, and they in fact began worshipping him, and was later dubbed by them as the god of fighting. Now whilst being worshipped by the Aztecs, he did pick up and learn their culture, which does explain a lot about his character design, from his large golden crown to the stone of the sun shield he has on his arm, which is in fact the Aztec calendar. Now it's strongly believed that during his time that he came in contact with someone that had possessed the devil gene, as he does recognize it later on when he meets a certain individual. But like I said, Ogre has only really been in one canon game, and we can only go by some of the very small information they've given to us. Now Ogre would go into a deep sleep, and slept for centuries, only to be awakened later on by the Mishima Zaibotsu. When he awoke, he quickly killed all members of the Tekken force, and then realized that the world had carried on without him. They had forgotten about Ogre's presence, and essentially who he was. So in order to live up to his moniker, the god of fighting, Ogre would travel around the globe, killing some of the world's best fighters, so that he could absorb their energy and become incredibly powerful. One of these unfortunate victims was the original king. He was killed and absorbed by Ogre. Hwoarang's master, Bak, was also severely injured, and was considered dead for an extremely long amount of time. Now whilst on his pursuit, he came across a forest, housing a very powerful fighter, one with spiritual properties, and this was in fact Jun Kazama. Now when the two did battle, Jun's house was destroyed, injuring her son Jin. Now the outcome of this fight is in fact left unknown, as we cut away from the fight and return when it's over. Now before Ogre seemingly leaves, he notices the devil gene that resides within Jin, and thus brands him with what can be deemed as the devil's mark. Now Ogre does disappear after this for a little while, but does resurface when Heihachi Mishima announces the King of the Iron Fist tournament free, so he would lie in the shadows and keep an eye on the tournament, wanting to fight anyone that he personally had deemed worthy. Now during the climax of Tekken 3, Ogre would go toe to toe with Paul Phoenix, and Paul Phoenix was in fact able to defeat him, which resulted in Ogre transforming into his true form, so he could go another round with Paul Phoenix. But the clueless man that Paul is actually ended up walking away and not noticing the horrible monster that was behind him. Poor Ogre. Instead, he'd be confronted by Jin Kazama, the man he branded with the devil mark 3 years ago. Now the two would battle, and the clash was fierce, but Jin Kazama proved that from the vigorous training he had from his mother and that of his grandfather, that he was more than capable of taking down Ogre, and Jin was able to defeat and kill the beast. Now though Ogre does die in Tekken 3, his remnants are picked up by the Mishima Zaibotsu. You see in Tekken 4, the Mishima Zaibotsu are able to get a sample of Ogre's blood, and they attempt to splice Ogre's DNA with Heihachi's in order to make him immortal, but this does ultimately fail. You see, in order to balance out the Ogre DNA, he needs the devil gene within his blood, which is actually the main reason why Heihachi announces the King of the Iron Fist tournament for. It will allow him to lure out his son Kazuya and his grandson Jin. Now Ogre does appear a tiny bit in Tekken 5, but it isn't canon. He appears in the mini game known as Devil Within, where he is a boss, and actually has a new form called Monstrous Ogre. That is a face only a mother could love, if she was blind, and even then it'd be questionable. But anyway, this kind of does wrap up my Ogre video, guys. Now I personally really like Ogre as a villain. I like to think he was part of the spark where Tekken bosses started to become a little bit crazy. You see, before this we did have Devil Kazuya, but out of nowhere we have a fighting god alien, and later on it turned into more ridiculous stuff. Jinpachi the demon, Azazel the demon dragon. It gets a little bit crazy, but you know what? I feel like Ogre's the perfect point between absolutely absurd and moderately meh. So yeah, this pretty much does wrap it up for the Ogre video, guys. Now I've heard what you guys have been saying in the comments below, and next week I'm going to be covering Li Wulong. A lot of people want to see it, and I've pushed it off for such a long amount of time now that it does need to happen, so you must certainly be getting that next week. Now after the Li Wulong episode, to wrap up the Mishima saga here, I'll be covering and talking about Devil Kazuya, the final and last part of what I would deem the Mishima saga on my channel, as it has has finally come full circle in the games. Unless you have a better suggestion in the comments below and it gets enough thumbs up, as it is a great way of letting me know what you guys want to see. Now before this video wraps up guys, if possible let's try getting it to about 500 likes. It's a great way of supporting this channel as YouTube keeps changing its algorithm, so it's a fantastic way of actually helping out. Now as always guys, please comment, like, subscribe and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care and I will see you all next time.